So welcome, Matthew. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. First question.
Go right ahead.
I will.
Thank you.
What inspiration did you have to set the episode in a war?
None. I think the idea of war always fascinated me, definitely within the realms of science fiction. I think you can do a lot more in terms of... I saw a lot more potential in character development if it was set during a war than if it was set, you know, on, say, like a council estate. I think the idea that war kind of has creates flaws in people and also unifies them throughout one common theme, and I think it's also quite interesting to see how people deal with the idea of war and to see the polar opposites of it, especially in a heated climate that is a potential war coming up at the moment. Yeah, we're gonna avoid archetypal characters. I think we're gonna stay as natural as possible. Even the Doctor himself doesn't actually feel like the Doctor. Because I think with a character that can constantly change their face and everything like that, you've got to re-energise the character, and I think if you were to base him too closely off one in the TV series, it wouldn't feel true. We've got a multitude of different characters, different ages, and it's interesting to see how the dynamic all works together to create this world that we're trying to sell off. Well, the writing process started out with a basic idea. I was formulating different ideas of things that I wanted to do way back since about 2016, just when we'd finished on the 12th hour. Eventually, the war motif and the characters and the story kind of built itself upon that. I always knew that with Generations, I think after the first two, I think we wanted to keep it so that if you've got an idea, you write it down, and we base the script off that. So I thought if I could tell any story I wanted to, why not go for something big instead of something a lot smaller? So the writing process started out, and it was looking at different characters and different motifs, and giving each character a story, because I think it's important to give them a journey that they can go on throughout the episode and see as everyone grows together. So that happened. I prefer to write and draft at the same time, so I will go and write a scene and carry on until I can't think of any more, come back a couple of days later and go back over the piece that I've written instead of developing anything new. I think that whilst it's different to how other people work, it certainly for me helps together note down where everyone is in the story. Well, he's, as you've seen in Generations, he's been travelling without a companion for an unspecified amount of time. I think having the Doctor on his own, especially from the BBC series, hasn't really been done properly utilised. You know, we had him alone for Heaven Sent properly, completely him on his own, and I think you can explore a darker region. The companion, often in the series, as key with the Runaway Bride with David Tennant, he was going to kill the enemy, and his companion at the time basically said, you know, enough's enough, calm down. They're always that restraint, and I think it's challenging to see what would happen if you remove that restraint and let them go for it, really. Of course, it's set in a war. You've got the grief of war, you've got the fact that the Doctor's obviously been in numerous different wars and has seen it all before, and it's understanding the morality of these people and where they stand morally and also psychologically as well. I can, yeah. So the Doctor answers a distress signal and arrives on a planet called Avor 3 in the midst of a deep war. And the basis of the episode is to try and help the people trapped in the war. The war's been raging for 20,000 years of an endless war trapped between two different regiments, and it's up to the Doctor to work out exactly what's going on and to see if he can stop it. So episode 1 was written in mind with a three-cast deal between the two Doctors and the companion. Episode 2 originally was written for, again, 3 characters and the jack-o'-lanterns, which we could multiply and numer up in separate shots. So they've all been quite low cast pieces. I think with this one, we are on 10 characters plus extras, so this one's really fleshing out the worlds that we can create with the characters and the motivations and the journeys and everything. The locations as well. Of course, we've been set in a war. You've got, you know, interior barracks, you've got interior corridors, you've got war machines, you've got the exterior shots. All that has had to be prepared, and we are still looking at locations. We got quoted a couple for no less than £5 million, so I don't think we'll be going for that one. But it's locations prep, it's cast prep, it's music, it's dogs, it's visual effects, it's the costumes and the hiring of the venue and everything like that. It's a lot of work to go into it, but I know we're going to be able to pull it off. It is, again, with the idea that we might have to pay for the location per hour. That's obviously going to put a lot of strain on the production side of it, on myself and Thomas, because not only am I acting in it as well, but I'm also essentially producer and director on this one, with Thomas being first assistant director, executive producer as well, and a camera operator. So I think with a skeleton crew, with a lot of actors, it's going to be it's going to be a challenge to be able to remain keeping calm and working under that pressure. You know, we've got a lot of cast, we've got big props that we're wanting to use, and it's also a lot longer as well, because we're not giving that cut around and working with less people than we want to, and that's definitely going to be a challenge, I think. But I think as long as we plan appropriately with storyboards, with index cards, with location meetings, and knowing exactly where we're going to shoot at a specific place, we can plan a schedule around it, and fingers crossed it's going to be easier to manage. Thomas Gardner, for those that don't know, used to make shorter films in his time. It made a couple of war films himself, made a few light-hearted spoofs, and made a series called The Yard, which I can't believe I'm talking about it. I can't believe you've done that.
Neither can I.
He made a series called The Yard, which was based around two detectives trying to find a criminal within a rural area. And whilst it was low budget and everything, I think that enjoyment of watching a finished product and compiling it together, I think is definitely something that I wanted to do from a young age, and we've tried and tested with different genres and everything. And I think I approached Tom about it just after the Peter Capaldi series started, as he was a big fan from the thick of it, and he'd watched the 50th anniversary and caught up with that. And I said, I'm wanting to make a Doctor Who episode, and we'll see how it goes. And Tom suggested, why don't you make it into a series? And I thought, right, okay, how big are we going to go? And I think keeping it to the 6 episode limit, I think is manageable in terms of character arcs and things like that. But the show itself definitely inspired it, along with support from friends, family, the show itself. And I just think having a deep-rooted association with something that you're passionate about in those two separate areas, you know, a TV show you can base things off, and filmmaking, I think definitely inspired that a lot more. And from the success of episode 1, and knowing that we had a great team in terms of music, crew and visual effects, we were able to potentially see the success of the first episode and then push it forward into a series, and here we are now. Fans are going to be in for a treat. We've got we've carefully weaved together all the events that can happen in series 1 and where people are going, and we're constantly updating it every episode. We've got a episode set in a war, we've got an episode set in a derelict land, we've got an episode set in a main city, and then we've got a complete episode mindfuck with the finale is all I can say. I think if fans stick around and they in depth and are watching it and understanding certain bits that are referenced later on, I'll just wait for this plane to go. Then I definitely think it's going to be worth it for people, and all I can say is they're going to enjoy it, definitely. These Generations videos are like 12 minutes long now. I'm getting a bit worried. They're longer. These behind the scenes videos are longer than the fucking
episodes. Right.
What happened with as we're going to reference it, the lost episode of Generations, we had a cast, we had a crew, we were working on that together. However, there was one more character that we needed to fill out, and that was the character of the he was working alongside the enemy, and we got the designs back that we wanted off the writer for the creature itself, and it was something that we couldn't fully go on board with it, and couldn't fully realise to its true potential. You know, if we use CG, it'd be a lot of money for visual effects, and it'd be very difficult to shoot. If we use practical, we had a fear that it wasn't going to come across in the best way, and if we did an enhancement of the two, you're potentially limiting yourself with the amount of CG that you can put on a creature. We had a cast of myself, a girl called Emma Cavaroli, who had worked alongside Christopher Thompson before, which was a recommendation from us, and absolutely amazing actress. We had Daniel Marsh, who was actually in episode 2. He was playing the jack-o'-lantern whenever it was seen between the scenes of the Doctor and the Rogue Doctor